So I finally finished Department H by Matt Kink, Charlotte Kink, and Marie Anger. Let me put this down because this is heavy. So this is actually pronounced Department H, not Death. Well, it's like a pun type of thing. But overall, I really enjoyed this. This has a lot of storytelling elements that I really like. So this is about Mia, and it's semi into the future, kinda ish, and she's basically going in this. She's diving underwater to go down to this base because her father died. She knows that it's a murder and she's trying to find out who's done it. And we have multiple suspects. It's one of those like Agatha Christie type of situation where they're locked in a room, someone dies. It's obviously one of the people that's there. So there's that. There's this sci-fi and like surreal element to it that I really like because Mia, she's kind of almost like, well, I wouldn't say unreliable, but she's a unstable narrator because we're following the story through her eyes essentially. Now, first off, this is not told in the traditional like sense of like a who's done it type of mystery because in that regard, it's all over the place. Now, this right here, okay, so this right here, this is volume 4. There's 4 volumes in this story. So volume 4 has the revelation. Yo, it is wild because as I was the process of reading this was so much fun because I myself am trying, like, I love mysteries, and so I am trying to figure out who's done it, and I'm trying to see like what other clues are. And when the revelation hits, I was like, oh my gosh, it's one of those things where it was in front of my face the whole time. I thought it was the journey of reading it, in my opinion, was really worth it. And I say it's not told in the traditional sense because it's not told like her really trying to figure out. This is more about who her father was and how the relationship between all of these people that is trapped essentially in the base because something happened, who these people are and the connection to her father. There's a lot going on in the story. Like, not only is Mia trying to find out who's done it, but about her it's also dealing with the relationships, and then it's also dealing with like all the science, also dealing with all of these moral things going on in the world because there's actually like, it's what I really like about it also is that there are events, like major catastrophic events happening within the surface of, besides underwater, that we're not privy to and we as the reader don't know. So let me talk about the art style. Oh my gosh, I really loved it. It's so beautiful, and as the volumes go along, the art style improves because there are moments in here, like especially the last volume, it is genius what the panels portray. It is so cool how the panels switch and it starts to relate this like claustrophobic, dire situation that they're in, and it is, I think it's one word to describe it. It is genius. I think it is so cool. It was like one of my favorite aspects, and the moments, the art is like this cross between like sketchy and this watercolor, like with the water, and then there are it's like crayon, like colored crayons. I think it is really cool, and I just really like the characters. I think it's really interesting because the ending to this really made me question what would happen essentially, like the situation, because it brings up her past and what she will do with the future. I think it is really cool, and I thought it was such a fun ride of a graphic novel and a story with that sci-fi and surreal mood to it. It has like Bioshock feels to it. I love Bioshock. Okay, that's one of my favorite games ever. Period. It is so good, especially number one is so good. Oh my god, loved it. But yeah, this I love that element sprinkled into it. The designs are so cool. Like the designs of the characters and like the creatures that they encounter, and the way that the like suits move and the way that they put it on. Oh, it is really good. I think overall as a package, it was just a fun ride from the beginning to the end, and yeah, I would recommend it. I really liked it. The next graphic novel from that collection that I'm going to be reading is Backstagers by James Tion IV, Ryan Sink, Walter Biamonte. Now, come to find out, there was actually a 3rd volume of this, and so I requested it from my library, and I'll get that probably tomorrow because it came in. Alright, so I finally finished volumes 1, 2, and 3 of The Backstagers by James Tion IV, Ryan Sink, and Walter Biamonte. So overall, I didn't like this. I was not the biggest fan of this. There also seems to be a verse form of these, like in a novel form instead of graphic novels. So that's what I was getting confused by because the artwork on the covers look really similar. But also the story is essentially volumes 1 and 2. Volumes 3, it's more like little short stories within the universe. So I'm gonna mainly talk about 1 and 2, but I'll give you my thoughts also on volume 3. Okay, so this is a story about a group of kids in high school. We mainly follow Jory, and Jory is essentially joining the backstagers. This is the crew behind like the plays and whatnot, and we meet a full cast of characters that work within this school. It's an all boys preparatory school, and downstairs in the backstage, they discover it's like a world that's like a door to another world where it's like a whole, it's just like supernatural. So first off, the art style is actually really cool. Now this is in regards to book 1 and 2, okay? So not volume 3, but volume 1 and 2, the main storyline, the art style is so cute. It is very colorful. I love the use of colors and the hue. It's so beautiful. It has this very cute eye-popping aesthetic to it. I just really enjoy it. The character designs are really distinctive. I love all the representation. It's very diverse. I really enjoy that. The thing that I don't like the most, and I think why I'm not the biggest fan of this, is everything else. The presentation is so cool. So everything else with like the story, the plot, the characters themselves, it's a little bit of a letdown. So I thought I would enjoy it more because while I personally was never in theater like it's myself, I really enjoy like going to plays, and I am intrigued by like the behind the scenes look into it. A lot of the jokes for me personally just weren't that funny. They were really, some of them were really corny, and I was just like, volume 2, if you look at this whole story, the second half, essentially the story, is much better than the first half. Probably more of everything is more established in the second half than the first, and so it does get a little bit better if you look at it that way. But overall, I just didn't like it. I think also personally for me, this isn't the right novels or type of stories that I enjoy, and I say that because it is really happy. It's really happy, and I feel as though that's just not. If you ever watch my channel for quite a while, things that are too happy or like it's too sweet, or too saccharine, I guess you could say, I just don't like it. I just don't like the really happy, cutesy thing, and I like the presentation. The story itself is just what I just didn't like. I've seen this book go around booktube, and I can see why people like it and enjoy it. The representation is great. While that's great, everything else just falters. The pacing and the way that the plot is presented to the overall arcing story is just, I just didn't think it was good. That's also one thing I didn't quite enjoy, is that how a lot of the problems were resolved. It was incredibly fast, and it just didn't feel warranted. Like it just felt like overall I just didn't like it. Now volume 3 is not. It's also done by a variety of artists, and I thought that was really cool, but for me, it just didn't really add anything. Like, and the art style does shift and change because it's different art styles. But I feel as though they weren't as great as the main ones. And that is more of a personal preference than anything. I just felt as though volumes 3, this was just really disappointing for me. I just didn't like it. Point blank period. I didn't like it. The presentation is great, but everything else, with the story structure wise, with the plotting, the characters, I just didn't quite enjoy it. But yeah, there's that. Alright, the next one that I'm going to read is Monstrous by Majuri Liu and Sana Takeda. Hey y'all, it's Michael. So I finally finished Monstrous by Majuri Liu and Sana Takeda. Overall, you know what? I did enjoy this. This follows our main character, Micah. Micah's a funny name to me because I actually know someone's like in real life whose name is Micah, so I was like, you're here. Anyways, this is about Micah, who lives in this world. It's called the Known World. That's one of the lore about this story in general is like getting to know the world. It's very rich. It's very detailed. There's a lot of history that's like explained. So much. The world building is awesome. So I'm not gonna give you that much about the world, but it's really cool. It's inspired. It has this like Asian slash steampunk slash like 60s Art Deco slash there's a lot of gold inspired world to it. It is so cool. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me talk about the art style. Oh my god, the art is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. The creature designs, oh my goodness. The creature y'all, this is the best part of this whole story is the creature design. Oh my gosh, the people look so cool. That if I had to choose one word to describe the aesthetic and the look of this, it is cool. Like it is just wow. It is a feast for the eyes. There are moments in here where I was like, oh my gosh, I would love it as print on my wall. It is just so beautiful. Now, I say it is beautiful, but I'm not gonna lie, the third issue of this, I don't know what it was because up to this volume right here, it looked really great. Like it looked incredible, but there are parts in here where I was like, I don't know, it looked a little bit muted, and the colors, I think it's also because it's so predominantly just dark and like black that there's some details that are like it wasn't as strong as in the previous sections, because in this part we're really dealing with so this is the story. We're dealing with Micah, and she has something inside of her. I mean, the title kind of gives it away. And so we follow her, and as she's trying to figure out what is this thing that is inside of her, and why are people after her, and what makes her special. And so we follow her backstory and whatnot. The world is so cool because it's a matriarchy, and I thought that was great. Like, oh, it's so cool. I also love the secondary characters. Oh my gosh, I love the secondary characters. Rand is so awesome. Kippa, I swear, if something, I need to read now. The next volume comes out, and I need to find out what happened with Kippa, because that might change how I feel about the series. But as I was saying about the third volume, yeah, the last aspect of that, the last part of this, like there are some parts in here with the art styles, like, Now let me talk about the story in general. Okay, so I love the action parts of these. It's so cool. There are like really just with the imagination of the world and like the creature designs, with this like the way that the panels, like it looks like the characters are like popping out. It's so cool. So the action aspect is really great. Now I'm not gonna lie, I think where I start to falter with this series is the third volume. I feel as though it's just going around in circles at this point. It feels very, I don't know if maybe it's because I also like binge read it. The third volume of this feels very going around. Like it seems to be meandering because I just want more. A lot of the characters seem very like comic booky. That makes any sense. Also, another thing that kind of grinded my gear is the language. I'm not being a prude or anything. So if characters say the F word, I'm fine with that. But I feel as though there are moments in here where the dialogue where it was like a very serious moment and it needed to have some like brevity to it, like some seriousness. But there would be moments where the characters would make a joke and it's like, but like it I felt as though it was like trying to lighten the mood, but it felt out of place, if anything, because I understand when authors do that is because characters, that's who they are, or like the author's trying to do some sort of like juxtaposition or like a joke would land there better. But there are moments in here where I felt I was like, okay, like let's be a little bit more serious. Like, and coming from me, I was just like, whoa, let's be a little bit more serious. And I was just like, so there are moments in here where that's where I felt the story in general takes a little bit of a stumble. Some of the antagonists, I was just like, I'm still reserving my final judgment on it because I mean, it's not, the whole series is not over, but that's how I'm feeling currently as of right now. Now, I am excited to read the next volume. I think that comes out in October. So yeah, there's that. But overall, I still like it and I'm still enjoying it. So yeah, those are all the books that I read for this part of the graphic novel reading thing. So yeah, I thought it was really fun. I'm gonna do it again for sure. I think it's great because graphic novels always break up my reading for me, and I love art. I just love art. So yes, if you read any of those novels, even from part one, let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. Until then, I'll see you guys till later. Bye! In case you're wondering why I'm not filming outside, we finally have air conditioning after a week of no air conditioning in Georgia, where the average temperature is 95. That's just the average. That's the average. That's not even the high. That's the average.